Howdy everyone. Today we're going to look at the studio discography of American band Tool. Tool is a band that I have liked since 1993. I've enjoyed them immensely through the years and seen them 3 times live in concert. Probably my favorite was their 2001 concert that I saw in Portland, Oregon, where King Crimson opened for them. That was on the Lateralis tour. Briefly, Tool began in 1990 in Los Angeles, California. Their musical style could be considered kind of part heavy rock, heavy metal, psychedelic rock, prog rock with lots of varying time signatures and epic sweeping arrangements in their songs, as well as a bit of art rock thrown in. And an important part of their overall presentation has been the visual arts too. They have some really interesting artwork on their albums. Their videos have been very provocative, and their stage setup and their live performances have been very visually stimulating as well. As far as other elements of their music, they, I think, tap into a lot of a dense reservoir, if you will, of Eastern mysticism, Jungian psychoanalytics, and some dark humor and satire, sort of like the late comedian Bill Hicks, who I know they were big fans of and who influenced some of their songs. So that being said, I want to start with their album that was released, the first release that they had in 1992, I believe, and this would be at the bottom of my list. This is Opiate. It is a short album of about 6 to 7 studio tracks. I think there was a hidden track in there. And then there's also a couple of live tracks that were included on the album. This is a very embryonic version of Tool. The length of the songs are short, but it does give a good dose of the pure venom that the band was able to showcase in the early stages of their career. It almost has a demo album feel to it. Although it does have pretty uniform production. I would say the song Part of Me is probably my favorite. Next, I would rank their newest release, Fear Inoculum, on my list. I guess that would be my number 5. This is the long-anticipated album that was released in August of 2019 after a 13-year wait. And I was highly looking forward to this album, like many Tool fans obviously were. And then I heard that there was going to be a special edition release of the album. And I was like, okay, that's cool. What about just the regular album release, just the songs on a basic CD and a simple jewel case? And what about that? And I kept waiting to hear about that, and I never heard about that because that didn't, and to this day, to my knowledge, does not exist. And so this has been like a black cloud that has hung over this entire album's release for me to this day. I have a hard time justifying paying $50 for a limited time special edition only version of this album that includes a lot of excessive stuff that just seems so unnecessary to me. You know, like a 4-inch little rechargeable viewing screen, 2-watt speaker, another USB cable that you can add to all your other USB cables that might be laying around your house. There were some other things in there. I think there was a video card that you had to use to access other songs that were not on the CD that came in all of this stuff. And these songs were not really songs. They were just short little instrumental excursions. All of this just was like, wow, I cannot justify this, and I don't know why they decided to do this, frankly. It seems rather unnecessary. And I think that everyone was just intoxicated with getting a new Tool release and just forked out the money. I understand that maybe there is a slightly more streamlined release of Fear Inoculum now that maybe came out around Christmas time of 2019. It's still excessive and not worth like the $30 or so for it. So that being said, there are some decent songs on the album that I have listened to a few times on YouTube. I like some of the songs, but I'm not overly impressed overall by the songs on this album. I like Pneuma, I like Tempest, the title track's okay. However, I think that the songs throughout Fear Inoculum take such a long time to get started. They have really long introductions. All those song lengths are long, but the introductions I find to be stretched out beyond what is necessary. And to me, the songs are like a bloated airplane that's just lumbering down down the runway, trying to get off and start flying. And once it does, it doesn't ascend to soaring heights. It only makes it to moderate altitudes, if you will. So that's Fear Inoculum for me. Next on my list would be their, I guess, kind of debut album. This was their breakthrough debut full-length release from 1993, Undertow. This is a pretty good collection of songs. I think the band experienced some of the success from this album because it came out at a time when a lot of the so-called grunge music from Seattle, Washington was making it really big in changing the modern musical landscape in heavy rock. I do like the aggressive bass picking that is prominent in the mix, and the guitars are strong. Adam Jones's guitar playing has always impressed me, and certainly his tones and style on this album, it clearly bites into your skin. Favorites for me would be Crawl Away, Intolerance, Sober, of course, the big hit single, 4 Degrees. I find that there's a little bit of dimensionality in the production, but the songs are aggressive, and it's enjoyable to listen to overall. So 1993's Undertow. Next for me would be 2006's 10,000 Days. And this album took longer for me to appreciate, but I like the majority of the work on here. There is a review I read before by a music journalist who wrote that Tool had basically made a Perfect Circle album. And of course, Perfect Circle is the other major project of Maynard James Keenan, his other big band. And I would agree with that. I think there's some truth there. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, and there are some great moments on here. The opening track, Vicarious, is really strong. I also like The Pot, the electronic drums that Danny Carey is exploring with and using in the song Intention. It's really good. I really enjoy all the wild time signatures and craziness that is thrown in the song Rosetta Stone. And a song near the end of the album, Right Into, was always an immediate favorite of mine. So 10,000 Days from 2006. Number 2 for me would be 1996's Einema. Einema was a big step forward, in my opinion, from Undertow. The scope of this album is far greater than its predecessor. It's a monstrosity of a release. There's 15 tracks. It clocks in at around 77 minutes. So there is a lot to absorb here. And I would say that that might be a bit of a small downfall for this album. I think that at times it can be a little self-indulgent. There are a lot of experimental instrumental pieces that are sprinkled throughout the track listing, and some of that is interesting and to listen to and is enjoyable, and sometimes it gets a little fatiguing to listen to. However, the main songs are exceptionally strong. Of course, some of them are classics in the Tool catalog. Highlights for me would be Stinkfist, Eulogy. I love the bass effects on 46 and 2, the title track, and its satirical tone and lyrics about wishing for the complete disintegration of California is humorous and thought-provoking at the same time. The song Push It is also really good. Really liked it when it came out in 1996 and have enjoyed it ever since. So that leads me to my number one album, which is 2001's Lateralus. And this is my favorite Tool album. It is a tour de force of creativity and musicianship. The songs are conceptually, mathematically, and emotionally dense and intense. It's another large album. It clocks in at around 78 minutes, so there is a lot to feast upon here. However, I find that there's an effortless flow through the sequencing of the songs and the instrumental excursions on this album. It flows nicely. And the effect of this approach is less jarring to me than on Lateralis's predecessor. I find that the opening song, The Grudge, is probably my favorite opening song on any Tool album, and definitely a top 5 favorite Tool song for me of all time. Of course, I love Schism, Parabola, the title track is phenomenal. Ticks and Leeches is a deep track on here that sometimes I think gets overlooked, but is a fabulous track. It's a great metaphorical statement, and we can all think about metaphorically who the people are or what conditions we experience that act as ticks and leeches to our minds and bodies, things that suck the life force out of us. So that's a great song. I also am always been a big fan of the 11-minute track. I think it's around 11 minutes, Reflection. A great album overall, probably their strongest statement of creativity and instrumentation. The performances are stellar throughout. So that would be my ranking of the albums. So number 1, Lateralus. 2, Ænima. 3, 10,000 Days. 4, Undertow. 5 would be the newest release, Fear Inoculum. 6 would be their first studio release, Opiate. So I hope you enjoyed this video looking at Tool. I am hopeful that they will release something again in the near future, hopefully before another 13 years pass. And I'm curious how you all would rank their albums. Let me know in the comments below and what some of your favorite songs are. And everyone take care out there, and we'll see you again soon.